She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Forrest can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Right, did you know that Arsenal died?
He's got me buzzing.
Up the TOFFEEs. It's hard to up them anyway.
I'm not even gonna comment on that. Welcome back to Footy with the boys. A little Premier League preview going on here. It's a wild season right now in the Premier League. We'll recap, we'll preview, we'll get you ready for this upcoming week in quite the season here. We'll get you with the US men's national team corner as well. All the updates there, including some amazing news about one of my favorite players. You'll have to stay tuned to hear what that is, unless you already know what it is. But let's start with the big news. I'm wearing the jersey for a reason. Ruben Amorim makes his debut for Manchester United, and god damn it, they were flying. Rashford, the man on the back of this jersey, scores a goal in just minutes into the game. I thought, you know what? He has a magic touch. He got Sporting Lisbon to beat Manchester City in the Champions League. He was just meant for this. And then they end up drawing with Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town got that leveler in the first half, and the entire second half, Manchester United were not able to find a second goal. He says it's going to take a while. And certainly when you have Casemiro and Eriksen in the midfield, I mean, that's a retirement home for your midfield. I don't know if he has the players right now, and he said it's going to take some time. I think that's just being brutally honest. Is Manchester United, I think the organization will give him time, but are the fans going to give him the time to actually make this project work?
I hope so. I really do hope so. If you're a Man U fan, you have to. It's crazy how much money Ten Hag spent just to leave this team for Ruben Amorim. Like, there is no... The only guy who you would think like, oh, maybe I could do something with him is Rashford, and he was there ages before Ten Hag was. So it is a tough look for his squad building. Amorim, obviously, we're not going to sit here and pretend that we watch Sporting day in and day out, but highly touted coach. But so was Ten Hag. So who knows? It looked good for about 100 seconds, and then zero control in this game against Ipswich. I think a lot of people were watching really closely. The midfield is awful. You mentioned the two guys in the pivot. Bruno Fernandes looks awful too. He's not. He isn't a creator. It feels like he has a wand of a foot, and good for him for having that. But outside of that, I don't know what much he brings to your team, especially if you're struggling. The backline shit. I mean, Ipswich had chances in this game. If Delap was maybe a little bit more clinical, they could have won. Yeah, I mean, Rashford did good with his one opportunity, but again, they only had one opportunity. Really, it felt like the whole game. So. A lot for him to do. He's gonna need the time for sure. He says by this time next year we'll see improvement. Not exactly what you want to hear if you're a Man U fan, but I think it's smart you got to be patient with this one. Which, I mean, these poor guys have been getting preached patience for 10 years since Fergie left, but it's still true.
Yeah, I mean, I think with this case, it's liking it to the US if you're an American fan here and know more about that side. I know we do a lot of US videos and a lot of people love that. With Pochettino coming in, the players are there. I mean, in terms of how you succeed, it was just really how you play. The tactics getting brought in. And even then, we were saying that first camp, even this second camp, I don't know if Pochettino will be able to have those tactics where it looks that good. He ends up having it look good, but for Amorim here, he doesn't have the players and the tactics need to come in. It's kind of a double threat here of hurting Amorim, because I just don't know if he has the firepower to be where Manchester United, the name, the brand, is supposed to be. I mean, how many windows does it take for him to get the players he needs? Because I just don't see that many players that are high level competing for what Manchester United want to be competing for.
I was surprised about that he left Ugarte on the bench. Didn't he coach him at Sporting, where like Ugarte kind of made a name for himself? So that was a little shocking. He's been like raving reviews about Mason Mount, which I think Mason Mount's like every coach's wet dream. Just run his ass off no matter what. So there's guys to be mixed in, but you're right. It's gonna take a considerable amount of money and time to get this team around. And I mean, again, they've already spent 600 million. It feels like what?
Manchester
It's
United,
gonna be
they at
rough.
least have one of those two. They have the money.
Yeah.
Do they have the time? We'll find out. Speaking of Manchester, though, we have another team in Manchester in the headlines, and not for positive reasons. And we're not talking about just cheating. Manchester United have lost 5 games in a row. Nick,
City.
is this real? Oh yeah, City have lost 5 games in a row. I mean, I can't even say it correctly. It doesn't seem real. Pep Guardiola, the first time in his entire career, but it's happening. Manchester City have now dropped considerably in the title race here. Liverpool have opened up quite the lead on the top of the table, but 4-0 to Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham have had Manchester City's number, but I mean, 3 straight dropped in the Premier League alone, but 2 others along with that. I mean, are they in deep trouble without Rodri here? Is that what this is, or is it other players just not stepping up? A lot of them are aging, and then do we need to put the milk cartons out for Phil Foden? Where the fuck is the PFA Player of the Year?
I mean, Guardiola called him the best player in the league last year. And now to have him just be either iced out, and when he's on the field, he's like non-existent, putting on a ghost show every single weekend. Foden's a fraud. Palmer well ahead of the list now on Foden. Saka is in conversations with Haaland and Salah. He's not in those Foden conversations anymore. It's bad. It looks real bad. That midfield doesn't have control, and for all the names that we keep saying, like, wow, they brought in Kovacic and for a stacked midfield, and De Bruyne's coming back.
And
it's just, Gundogan's back on the free. Like, it's just not the same. It's not the same midfield, and that's where City have usually been so dominant, just being able to control games at all times, with the best controller in the world in Rodri for the past 3 or 4 years. So, they're in deep trouble without him, and it's pretty stupid how the narrative on Arsenal when a player is missing is like, oh, too bad, players have to step up. On City, it's like, oh, Rodri's missing. But I think it's true. Rodri's missing and it's fucking them. I really think that's what's happening. So I don't want to just put a narrative on them for anything. Yes, they have players to step up, but he is a big loss. Foden being, nowhere near the level that he needs to be is hurtful as well. And Haaland also hasn't been playing that well either, ever since he told Ethan Wyneri, a 17-year-old, to humble himself. He has not really been doing that much, which, okay.
Yeah, so the quota, what are we going to do? It's not like we're getting relegated. And oh my God, that shit will go platinum if these whatever it's called, financial fair play things go crazy.
FFP, yeah. So FFP, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. They're definitely in trouble. This 8-point gap feels a bit harder than it was when they had it over Arsenal or beneath Arsenal a couple years ago. So we'll see. We will see what happens, but yeah, I really do think they're in deep trouble. And Spurs, by the way, they lost to Ipswich 2 weeks ago, and now they're beating City 4-0. They couldn't beat City when Arsenal needed them to win in the run-in last year.
Spurs heritage, brother.
They are just the most annoying little brother team in the known universe. Like, they are, hate them.
Yeah, I mean, when the one time it would help out to beat Manchester City, they don't, but this time absolutely rout them here. We'll be talking about Manchester City's next game going up against the league leader Liverpool. That'll be one of our featured previews. But of course, first, Nick, we check in with the Toffees and the Gunners. And we start with Arsenal because it's a bit more on the happy side here. A 3-0 win. And Starboy and the next Starboy get on the score sheet here. So, I mean, it's a great day. It's a great day here. You have West Ham up next, and you have the opportunity to make a run here, get some points together. Nottingham Forest, I think, was a good test, and you passed it, and it was routine. What do you see from Arsenal, and what do you take going for the rest of the season, kind of moving forward from this one here?
Yeah, I think routine is the word that we've been looking for. They've had a couple of these performances that have been like cut off by a red card or an injury or something. This one was a full 90 of just domination with a rotated side, by the way. Jorginho at the 6, Trossard at left wing, Gabby Jesus at the 9. So, I mean, really the important thing is Martin Odegaard is back. That dude is, for my money, the best number 10 in the world. And it's not just his like creativity on the ball or his build up. Like he is the leader of this team, a deserved captain, and people flow off of his energy. He's so smart off the ball too. Just being able to drag defenders to space. That's how Thomas Partey scored. He made like a little mini run and Partey was wide open. A beautiful goal, nothing to take away from Partey there, but that's what opened up the shot. So it's fantastic to have him back. When you lose a world-class player, it hurts, as we're seeing with Rodri now, and it hurt us for a little bit. Great to have him back. Good to see Saka, still being our best player, arguably, even though Odegaard's the leader, as I said, and a world-class player. Jorginho played well in the first half, got a yellow. I'm loving that Arteta's just yanking at yellows now because like it's just anytime there's a player with a yellow, it feels like the refs are out to get us a little bit. Nottingham had 7 fouls and 1 yellow. We had like 5 fouls and 4 yellows. It's a bit strange, but at least he's learning a little bit and adjusting. And yeah, just routine against the informed Nottingham Forest side. I'm not going to pretend that we beat like, a Liverpool away or anything, but it was a solid Nottingham Forest side that's been having a good year. So it's a great 3-0 win. Like you said, the fixtures ease up a little bit. We have West Ham up next, who actually looked good today against Newcastle. But I'm kind of expecting more of the same in the little London derby this weekend. So glad to see it. Hopefully Dex gets back in the lineup. Hopefully we see Havertz again at the 9 after a little bit of a breather. But yeah, we looked good. Shout out to Nwaineri, the future star boy who is arriving, sooner than you think. First Premier League goal. He has 4 goals this season. Kid's the truth. Excited to see him more.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone would have said you could expect what this would have been as a test, but to come out 3-0 on top is a good sign for Arsenal here. And we're talking about Rodri being gone and Man City looking different. Midfielders make a big impact, and Odegaard is certainly that for Arsenal here. Big time to have him back. Liverpool kind of taking advantage of both those injuries for Arsenal and Man City here. Nick, let's go to Everton. Mike cannot be here. He was very adamant that we let the listeners know that he thinks that Everton are fucking shit. And honestly, watching this game was one of the more frustrating games I had watched of Everton. And Palmer, if you can pull up this tweet, it's a 0-0 draw. You'll see the 41st minute red card there. And the biggest thing is the missed opportunities of Everton. Everton against this 10-man Brentford. 10-man. You have an extra man. They were attacking nonstop. Can't put anything away. Can't win that game. You've lost a 2-0 lead against Bournemouth to lose 3-2. Same exact thing happened against Aston Villa being up 2-0. And then you're losing to the winless at the time Southampton. Nick, that's 11 points. 11 points that Everton have not been able to get. Even if you hold on to a draw in some of those, get some of the points. We're in a relegation battle, and we're just dropping the easiest chances for points. It's a 10-man side, and we can't put anything away. Nothing in the attack for Everton. I mean, I've been critical of Sean Dyche, and I mean, he's had this run where he hasn't really lost much, and it's a draw here. It's not a loss. It's not the absolute end of the world, but the table doesn't look good for Everton. Other teams are picking up. Crystal Palace look like they've woken up a little bit. Wolves, 2 winners in a row. They look like they've woken up a little bit. Leicester, I mean, all these teams are kind of waking up. We have been so lucky that all these other teams were absolute dog shit for the first 9 to 10 games of the season. People are starting to pick it up at the bottom of the table. And Everton are just wasting points. I mean, 11 points, Nick. That's double our point total. That would get us to near the European spots. Which I'm not saying Everton are at all at that level, obviously, because we're not. But holy shit, these are easy chances for points. You gotta capitalize on some. I mean, Nick, am I too upset? Am I just passionately upset about my team? Or is this not just ridiculous, the amount of points that have been lost from easy situations?
This one hurts a lot, and the Southampton one hurts a lot. The 2-0, early season, the things were weird. It's a different Everton team now than it was those 2 games that they blew the lead. But this one, even against an organized 10-man Brentford, who did a good job defending, let's at least give them a little bit of credit. They were the better team at 11 men. Like, Everton should have scored before that. Beto came on, and even though it was probably their best attacker when he came on, he was a bit wasteful with a couple headers. So it really is just a lack of the horses for this team. And you're going to be in a relegation battle. I'm not that worried about you being relegated because Southampton's awful. Ipswich, I think, just won't have enough. And Leicester's awful. I don't know how they have 10 points right now. Leicester's atrocious. They just fired Steve Cooper this weekend. So I'm not too worried about you guys actually getting relegated, but I think a pretty clear delineation is happening. It's a bottom 15 and the top 14 in the Prem right now. And unfortunately, Everton are in there. And in fact, I think a team like Wolves, who I think I've said it a lot throughout this year, I think they've looked solid when they have played, even though they've been awful with the results. I think they've looked better than Everton have, if I'm being totally honest. So 11 points is a lot, but bad teams do bad things. And in this case, it's dropping points that you should win.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Ipswich and Southampton give me some type of hope, but I do think
Leicester's
get
awful.
results.
No,
Leicester get results.
Leicester's awful.
Wolves, I'm worried about, and Crystal Palace, I think, will turn it on and get out of this. So I think it's us versus Leicester, and I mean, I don't have trust in Sean Dyche to handle these situations correctly because how situationally you're up 2-0 in games and you're losing them. You're playing against Southampton. You're losing. It's the only win that Southampton had this entire season. And the games coming up, Nick, are the most worrying thing. We have Manchester United.
Yep.
Wolves. You want to take advantage of those 2 because these next 3 games after that are Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester fucking City. So we're going 3 games. We're going basically a whole fucking month without points. We need to take advantage that Manchester United have a new manager, and hopefully they haven't figured it out yet. We need to take advantage that Wolves are also just not that crazy high level of a team, and we need points there because we're not getting points for the next 3 games against those 3 sides. That's just not happening.
I think he played Chelsea on New Year's too. Like it's
yeah. I mean,
like there's some rough fixtures coming up. So yes, that is the one where 3 points here would have gone a long way. Just feeling okay once January comes around.
I think that's the thing is we're going to go through a stretch where we are going to not be able to get points just based off roster. It's just not going to really happen unless we really fucking pull something out. Yeah, Chelsea's right after. So, I mean,
yeah. Because Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, Man City, that's a tough run.
And then Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Aston Villa. None of those are games that I mean. Oh, and then it's fucking Tottenham, Brighton. Jesus Christ, brother. I mean,
listen, the tough part about
the 11 points that we are missing are I think that's going to get us relegated. I mean, this run, Everton's going to have to pull something out of the hat when they didn't have to. They just had to pull the fucking shit that was already out of the hat. It was out there on a platter, and you swiped it away, and now you have to come up with some type of magic against these much better teams in much worse situations. I mean, it's not looking great.
I don't think you'll get relegated, but it'll be close. I don't even know if it'll be close. I think within maybe going into the last weekend, I think you'll be safe. But outside of that, it's going to be a grind. But we need that.
Outside of that,
this is the life of an Evertonian. This is the life of an Evertonian.
It didn't used to be. It didn't used to be, Nick.
Yeah,
I swear, if you could believe it, we were in Europe at times. We were good.
Yeah, I mean, we're just waiting on this takeover, man. That's all that. We just need some money in there.
Some potential January reinforcements coming if the takeover happens and it all goes.
Loan, get a loan for for Xerxes or Hoyland or something. Get someone yeah. You just need a striker, and I think you'll be much better.
I unfortunately don't think any striker wants to come to Everton because the chances. I mean, I guess there are plenty of chances. It's just never finished.
Ricardo Pepi.
We'll talk about Ricardo Pepi. We'll talk about it. Let's get into next week's featured matchups, not the Toffees, not the Gunners, but holy shit, some matchups here, Nick. This is a hell of a weekend. I'll tell you what. Liverpool, Manchester City. Liverpool right now can make it an 11-point lead at Anfield. I mean, Nick, if you were to write up a season script for Liverpool and you were to say, hey, Arne Slot, first season in charge, you're going to look amazing. You're going to score a lot of goals, not allow basically any. And you're going to be having the chance to go up 11 points against Manchester City in December. And it's going to be a game at home at Anfield. I think they're saying we're winning the fucking league. If they do win this game, I mean, how monumental of a collapse do they have to blow an 11-point lead on City and still, I mean, a 9-point lead right now on Arsenal, Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think they have City, Newcastle, and some other team. Tottenham coming up in the next month, I think. So, we're going to learn a lot about Liverpool. I don't think they looked that great versus Southampton. I mean, they were losing that game, and then, Mo Salah is Mo Salah. So doing what he does is one of the best players in the world, who, by the way, then says he might be leaving. Like, the vibes aren't all perfect there, and I don't think the play has been perfect either. They have taken advantage of every opportunity that other contenders have given to them, so credit to Liverpool. They stole a draw at the Emirates, which is what you have to do away versus title contenders. So we'll see what happens here. Honestly, I hope both these teams lose. I think a draw is what's going to actually end up happening, but Liverpool should be the heavy betting favorite. City has looked awful. You can argue they might turn up for this game, but I don't know.
So. I would hope so.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what is. They can't just be a team that has like a switch that turns it on. Like, that doesn't work all the time. Yeah. We've seen it in other sports before. Like, they've been that team beforehand, but now there's like key players missing and other players taking a step back, and so I don't know. So hopefully it's a competitive game, but I kind of expect Liverpool to be able to have their way, and I think a draw is a good result for City. Just so they don't lose ground. 11 points is a lot of points, even though we're not even at the halfway mark yet. But 11 points is a lot.
If they're down 11, have Rodri out for the season?
For City, I don't know. No, because it's at Anfield. Maybe if it was at the Etihad, they would feel a little bit more defeated. But again, I don't think Liverpool's been playing amazing. Like, they've been doing well, but not like they haven't been just putting teams to the sword. So they're getting results, which is really all you can ask for. But yeah, it's a tough way to say. 11 points is a lot, but I wouldn't say the race is over just based off of that. And theoretically, they'd still be only 9 points ahead of Arsenal. I mean, so yeah, I don't think the title race is going to be decided this weekend. Might be a hot take, match week 13, but yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more to be said. I'm just going to think it's a draw. Liverpool haven't amazed me, and Man City should still be good. I don't know.
Would you prefer that to Manchester City beating Liverpool? Obviously, 1 point apiece there. Arsenal will be able to cut down the lead by 2 points, but 3 points. Would you rather Man City win in that, or are Man City just the boogeyman? You want them dead?
The ideal result, if you're an Arsenal fan, is City wins and then Sunday morning they get relegated. So that'd be great. But outside of that, I don't give a shit. I hate both these teams, and whatever happens. We're gonna have to play catch up regardless. So
I mean, it'd be nicer to play catch up on a 6-point gap than a 9-point. I feel like that is a pretty large difference.
Yeah, I know, but when you think about it, 9 points is 3 games. If they lose 2, and then it's not that bad. It's fine. Yes. It's early. I'm not going to get worried about other teams' results until we do return fixtures. So if it's still a 9-point gap when they play at Etihad, then yes, I would like City to win. But as of now, I hope they both lose.
We will see if they both lose. That would be a first, but we'll keep our eyes out. Let's go to another massive matchup to watch here. Chelsea, who find themselves in 3rd place. Enzo Maresca working some magic over there, along with some fortune of other teams kind of dropping in some form. But they go up against Aston Villa here. And Nick, I think this is a pretty big matchup for both sides in terms of just reputation. How are they going to be seen if Chelsea wants to be one of these teams that's top four, potentially title challenging? I mean, they're in the same spot as the Man City and an Arsenal. These are games you have to come out with wins. And in Aston Villa, they haven't won a game since the start of October in the Prem. It's at Stamford Bridge. I mean, how much does it go to say that, hey, no, they still are what the team that they were last season, that was that high-flying Aston Villa squad that was making their way into the Champions League?
I mean, Villa hasn't won a game in forever. Like they have hit the Unai Emery stretch of the season. They have not looked great. I expect Chelsea to win this convincingly, if I'm being honest. Villa can hurt them, obviously, but that midfield has not been the same since Douglas Luiz left, even with some of the reinforcements they got. And Chelsea's looked, solid to their credit. They've looked decent, good, even in their games. And I don't know how much of that is, situations. I think Arsenal outclassed them when we drew them, but they're good. They're a good team. I expect them to win this. It's at home. Villa's looked awful. And if Villa loses convincingly, I don't want to hear about them until they win like 3 or 4 in a row. I don't even want to take them seriously, because if you're not going to show up for this game, then just don't show up across my feed for a while. It would be big for Chelsea to win it for sure. It'd be big for either of these teams for Villa to right the ship, but I'm expecting a Chelsea win.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the way they've been going, you expect, but quite honestly, that middle of that table is so wildly congested with everybody's points so close to each other. I mean, if Aston Villa win this, they're level on points with Chelsea again. And I mean, look at the point totals.
They started red hot though, and they've just dropped off.
No, everybody's within a game though. You look at Newcastle down there in 10th right now, and they're a game basically away from top 5. I mean, same with Brentford even. I mean, they can shoot up all the way to 6th and then European contention for just one game. I mean, it is wildly contested there in the middle of the table. And I think that may be what's contributing to a lot of this Man City, Arsenal form issues. It's a really competitive league this year. And we've talked so much about the bottom being kind of shit, but that middle is wildly competitive and certainly getting some results. Let's run through the rest of the games here, because like I said, this is a competitive league. A lot of switches can happen in terms of standings off the games. One of those is Fulham versus Tottenham. That'll be an interesting matchup here. Tottenham usually shit the bed after a big result. So I'd imagine Fulham might have some good chances here. That'd be the most Spurs thing possible. But I mean, if Tottenham win this one after handily beating Manchester City, maybe they find some form here. Maybe they can go on a run. Brighton will face Southampton, so should be a nicer game for Fabian Hertzler and the boys in Brighton. Wolves against Bournemouth. That will be a pretty good game. The two teams that Nick has liked over the past 2 seasons that weren't starting off well. Bournemouth obviously turned it around and did awfully nice, and most recently have had some very good results against some of the top sides. Wolves with 2 wins in a row as well. So interesting game towards the bottom of the table there. Brentford will be facing off against Leicester. We'll see what happens there. Brentford obviously just got that draw with Everton. Leicester City right above Everton in the table. See what they can do for us there. Palace versus Newcastle. Like I said, Palace have looked a little bit better as of recent, tied with Aston Villa. Can they do something similar against Newcastle? And finally, we have Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich Town. We'll see what happens here. These were 2 teams that I thought maybe would be battling for relegation, and Nottingham Forest have certainly stopped that narrative there. So we'll see what happens there with Ed Sheeran and the boys going up against the trees. Nick, it is time for the U.S. Men's National Team Corner. And boy, is it a great day to do so on the 2-year anniversary of the U.S.-England World Cup game. Man, how could it be different if Christian Pulisic had that left-footed shot not go off the crossbar and just went straight on in? We'll never know, but we balled out that game for a 0-0 draw. And speaking of balling out, Ricardo Pepi for PSV in the Eredivisie. Nick, he scores a hat-trick versus Groningen, his former club. I mean, this guy just scores nonstop. Every time we have any type of... It's hard to criticize that much when he just scores a shit ton of goals. He is now not just PSV's leading scorer, above Luke de Jong, their captain and star, and guy that's starting over Pepi. He is the Golden Boot leader in the Eredivisie with 9 goals, only 4 starts, and the rest is just sub appearances. I mean, Balogun was also just recently announced as medically fit, getting just match fit, and he should be back. He scored in 3 games in a row before he got injured. Who's first? Is it still Balogun, or at this point, do you guys say, "God damn, Pepi, like fuck, fine, you can be the first string, man"?
Listen, good for Pepi for his hat trick. 9 goals with just 4 starts is impressive. Balo had 3 in a row. Good for both of them. I hope they keep playing, with form for their club. Pepi scored twice over the international break. That's what I care about. He scored 2 goals, 1 in each game. And if you're going to score in each game, then you're going to start for me the next time we come back. And that's just is what it is. Balo looked great in Copa over the summer. I thought he was one of our better players outside of Pulisic. But new manager, new system. Pepi has scored 2 goals. You ride with the hot hand. And I mean, everything he's doing with this club is only going to confirm that even more for you. So, yeah, he's turning a believer out of me. As long as he keeps putting them in the back of the net, I don't give a shit if he's missing chances because you'll score anyways. So, it's all the best strikers in the world miss chances, I guess. And now that he's actually putting some away, put him in the starting lineup for me. I'm perfectly okay with that. I'll eat some crow on it. And yeah, it's his job. Why would it go right back to Balo after scoring in 2 consecutive games? Balo is not like one of the best strikers in the world. He's not at that level. Probably more talented than Pepi. I think we could agree there, probably. But doesn't matter. If you're bagging the goals, then you're my 9.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is Balogun's have to come back. He's going to have to get in some great form. But also, Pepi, I mean, the argument against would be he might not still start because Luke de Jong is the captain and the veteran player. Does he get a move in January? I think you just stay at PSV and just get a shit ton of goals to get a better move rather than get just shipped off somewhere because you want more playtime. I think, I mean, he's got to be begging the manager to say, I deserve to start. How could you not start him after he scores every sub appearance and gets a hat trick? Got a brace last time he started, which could have also been a hat trick if it was given to him, but it was given as an own goal off a deflection. I mean, he just doesn't stop scoring. So it's going to come down to him. Really, I think it's down to Pepi losing the spot rather than Balogun winning it back, unless, of course, Balogun, gets hat trick and hat trick and hat trick. But in the Eredivisie, you would imagine Ricardo Pepi should have some easier time scoring at least.
Also, to be fair, like if a game that like really mattered happens right now, I think Pepi is your number 9. If we were to play a competitive match, tomorrow, you have to start Pepi, in my opinion. Fine starting Balo for a game though. Like Poch is still new. He hasn't had his hands on Balo yet. Let's see what he can do with them. But yeah, right now, if you're putting the best starting 11 for the USA, Pepi his name's on the sheet.
Yeah, I will say this is extremely speculative. It is November 25th. The next game is in March, the middle of March. So in terms of time before
I still don't care because the last time he played, he scored 2 goals with that jersey on. That's the shit that matters. I know that Balo can score in France, and I know he can score in the Dutch league. I understand both of those things, even if they go through a spell. But he scored 2 goals against Jamaica, 1 at Jamaica, by the way, that won him the game, and then 1 in a pretty much a rout, even though the score looked closer than it was. So he deserves to be the starting number 9.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been like everybody wants just Balogun to start. He's been chosen to start every time. It's kind of like, all right, shit, man, sure, you can start, man. Like, just keep scoring the goals, whatever. We'll allow it now. Speaking of some starters for the US, I thought we were gonna have a banger of a matchup. Pulisic, Musa. McKenny Weah, Milan versus Juventus in Serie A. And Nick, this game was a stinker. An absolute stinker, 0-0.
God.
Pulisic had, I guess, enough fatigue from the U.S. and flying across the world and playing so much that they decide to keep him on the bench and bring him on later. Milan have zero comprehensive attack. Like, nothing works in their attack without Pulisic. It is tough to watch. Juventus, McKennie started it. Weah took a slight knock the day before the game. Was going to start at striker. Comes on as a winger in this one. I mean, there was just not that much to say here, but Milan need Pulisic. Very much so. A lot of people are knocking on Milan's door, though, for Pulisic. A lot of Premier League teams have reached out. I mean, is that something that Pulisic should at all entertain? I've heard West Ham, Liverpool, Manchester United all have been asking about the price. It's around 60 million, they say right now. But is that at all a chance that Pulisic should take that? I feel like, in my opinion, just stay in Italy and keep balling out.
I think you're right. I'm sure he feels like he has something left to prove in the Prem. The Chelsea run wasn't, the best, and obviously ended poorly. But if I'm him, or if I'm one of the guys in his circle, I'm telling him stay here. Milan is a huge club. Selfishly, I'm a Milan fan when it comes to the Italian league, so I would want him to stay there. And he's performing really well. Also, the physicality of the Prem, maybe it's just not for a player like Pulisic. I think, the Serie A is a slower league, and he's just ripping through it like a chainsaw. So I think keep doing what's gotten you here. You're in the form of your life. You're, like, based on form, probably one of the better players in the world right now. So even when you play for the United States as well. So keep it going. I don't see a reason to change anything. I know he has, team ambitions as well. But I guess selfishly, I would want him to stay at Milan.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's enjoyed Milan. He's had plenty of quotes coming out about how much he loves the San Siro, where he lives. He lives on a lake there. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily thinking, man, I want to get back to England and all that weather when you're in Milan, Italy. But certainly, right now he's 15th, they say, on the Ballon d'Or rankings. So he's having quite the season. Don't think it's time for him to leave, but it may be time for his manager to leave, Paulo Fonseca, which would then be the third manager he's had at AC Milan, which this man cannot have stability with managers. Like, holy shit,
No.
he is constantly getting new ones. But I guess that is kind of the case of the big clubs. They move on pretty quick. But, of course, we need to close the U.S. men's national team corner, U.S. news, with what is the greatest news that maybe this world has ever been graced with. It's out of Borussia Dortmund, and no, I'm not talking about the starlet, Cole Campbell, who would look saucy over the international break and was amazing for Borussia's youth team. It is Mr. Giovanni Reyna. Gio Reyna is back for Borussia Dortmund after weird-ass tweets updating his medical status as a mystery and confusing the team. He is now back for Borussia Dortmund. Got on for about 15 minutes at the end of their game here. His only second appearance of the season so far. He's been really knocked out by injury. Nick, we've talked about how good this U.S. team looks. If Gio Reyna can stay healthy, continue to contribute for Borussia Dortmund, I mean, how much does he add to an already systematically great-looking attacking U.S. squad?
Special talent, that's for sure. He is a very special talent. I think there are a lot of question marks onto how we're going to fit those front four players. And I don't think Gio has a clear defined role. I think someone like you might say, put him at the 10, Pulisic back out left, way out right. That's what we're accustomed to see. But, Botch has experience with different people at that 10, which makes me feel good because it's going to give Gio a shot there. And I think he's talented enough to take it. It really is all about availability for him. So good to see him come back. And hopefully he gets, like you said, we're not going to see this U.S. team for a good 3-4 months. He needs a run of games. He was out of favor beforehand. He needs just to be healthy. Even if it's a sub, if you're getting 20, 30 minutes a game, maybe a move in January would be good too. I'm not too hopeful about that. We saw what happened last year, but still, it's good to see him healthy again. He has all the talent to be, one of our 3 best players, I think you can say. So we need him firing. We need him at his best, but more than anything, we need him healthy. And hopefully the talent will shine through once he comes to the international setup.
He looks like he's
Yeah, I
eating
think
well.
honestly that's. What was that?
He looks like he's eating well.
I will not acknowledge that rude comment by our producer on our.
I don't think he looks. I mean, he looks a little stupid in this photo, but he doesn't look chubby.
I just remember him being.
Is this
fat
like
like a
Start
fat
watching your own calories, Palmer. Fuck you. What the hell?
I am watching my
Yeah,
calories.
we don't do that. We don't do that on this pod.
Yeah, we don't body
I'll say,
shame.
all I care about is that this man stays healthy. If he's healthy, I mean, the talent level, we've seen it with the US. It does not matter how long he's been healthy and what his form is at club, how many minutes he's getting. He's arguably immediately the second best player every time he's played for the US, regardless of his form, regardless of how many minutes he's getting. As long as he's healthy, that is the one thing. I would love to see Reina maybe move to Serie A. I mean, Milan need a 10. We get 3 Americans at AC Milan. Oh boy. Oh boy, that is some marketing right there. It's an American owner, so all I'm saying is I don't think he'd look bad. And I do believe Tony Miola, former US goalkeeper, also said he would think Gio Reyna fits in at that 10 role at Milan. So just throwing it out there, put it into the universe. But
He's sick.
that would be really fun to watch. Let's move in.
We'd have to each get a US Milan jersey.
Yeah,
Dibs on Musa.
absolutely. Dibs on the Geo. I already have the Pulisic, so. All right, let's move into the locks of the week, and we have got Mike's lock of the week remotely. Let's check in. I believe it's still an awful performance by us recently after what was an amazingly hot start. There's a whole lot of red on this table since then. We have in week 12, I don't think we actually did a prediction last time because it was international break. But for this week, we have week 13. We have Bournemouth. I have Bournemouth winning 2-1 over Wolves. That would be me all the way at the right end. Bournemouth 2, Wolves 1. I'm trusting my boy Tyler Adams. He is a dog. He is back. He started for Bournemouth. Love to see him just get out there and be a dog. Nick, what is your lock of the week before we end with Mike's remote lock of the week?
Not surprising that my lock of the week form went down as Arsenal's form went down, because I'm riding with the boys. It's 2-0 in the London Derby. Arsenal 2-0 over West Ham. London Derby, but still expecting a dominant performance. I think we're going to pick up here.
Is it all worrying to you that maybe you're the problem here with Arsenal? It's not the players. It's you choosing them for lock of the week.
Listen, I've had that thought about every single sports team that I root for. It does feel like I am the problem, but I'm not going anywhere, and I'm still going to ride. So
First step is realizing there's a problem.
Yeah, yep. And that step.
Next step is not giving a shit.
There's a multi-step process here. Mike's pick is the Brentford Bees will be buzzing against Leicester with a 3-1 win. He's predicting. This motherfucker has chose 3-1 as the scoreline for like 4 straight games here.
It's the only thing he knows.
Loves a 3-1 scoreline for some reason. And none of them have hit on the correct scoreline. But he has gotten the correct result the last 3 times. Let's do a point update here. What are we looking at here, Producer P?
Who are they playing?
Against they're playing Leicester.
Okay.
Leicester City.
I think I'm down by 2. I think you're still in last flags. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Mike has taken a lead 8 for Mike, 6 for Nico, and just 5 for me, the defending champion, falling out of favor with his picks here. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm not. Nick, big weekend in the Premier League. Big weekend in footy in general. What are your closing thoughts for the viewers here?
Up to Arsenal as always. Looking forward to 3 points this weekend, and then we can just watch either Liverpool or City or both drop points on that Sunday morning, heavyweight fight. So excited for it. Stay tuned here. We got you covered next week as well with all the news from the Premier League. Appreciate you boys as always. Up the Gunners, and up Mike Tracy, who no showed for the pod today.
Up Mike Tracy, up his Everton Toffees. God knows we need a win there. Until next time, subscribe, like, comment what you want to see, comment what questions you have. We'll make sure to answer them on the next pod. And until then, peace.